What if everything you have been searching for in the world outside is actually buried deep inside you, waiting to be discovered while you sleep? And what if the 8 hours you spend in bed tonight could become the most productive hours of your entire life? Not in the way the world measures productivity, but in the way your soul measures wealth. And tonight, while you rest, something ancient and golden will be excavated from the depths of your subconscious mind. And you do not need to believe this right now, but only to allow it, because belief comes after proof, and proof is already on its way to you. Florence Scovel Shinn taught in the early 1900s that your subconscious mind is a gold mine, and most people live their entire lives sitting on top of untold riches. And they never dig, and they never mine, and they die poor, not because there was no gold, but because they never learned how to access it. And tonight, you will learn, and more than learn, you will experience. And this is not theory, but a transmission, and every word I speak is a key that unlocks a chamber in your inner vault. There was a woman named Margaret, and she was 62 years old when she found this teaching. And for 43 years, she had worked in the same office building in downtown Cleveland, and every morning at 6:45, she would wake to the sound of an alarm that felt like a punishment, and she would dress in clothes that no longer fit quite right, and she would drive the same route past the same buildings, and she would sit at the same desk under fluorescent lights that hummed with a frequency that made her teeth ache. And at the end of each month, she would open her bank statement and see the same number, $837, and it never grew, and it never changed, and she had stopped hoping it would. Margaret had heard about manifestation and affirmations, and she had tried them all, and she had stood in front of mirrors speaking words that felt hollow in her mouth, and nothing had changed, and she had given up, not loudly but quietly, in the way people give up when they are too tired to fight anymore. And then one night in late October, when the air in Cleveland had turned cold enough to see her breath, she could not sleep. And she opened her phone at 2:17 in the morning, and she found a recording of Florence Scovel Shinn, and the voice was old and crackling, but the words were alive, and the words said, "Your subconscious is a gold mine, and you have been digging in the wrong place." Something in Margaret broke open when she heard this, and she did not know why, but she began to cry, and the tears were not sad, but they were a release, and she listened to the entire teaching while lying in her bed with her hand on her chest, feeling her heart beat. And when the teaching ended at 3:51 in the morning, she whispered out loud into the darkness, "I am ready to mine my gold." And she did not know what this meant, but she felt it. And she fell asleep immediately and dreamlessly. And when she woke at 6:45 to the same alarm, she felt different. The difference was not in her circumstances, but in her body. And she felt lighter. And she noticed things she had never noticed before, like the way the morning light came through her bedroom window at a particular angle and hit the wall in a golden streak, and she touched the wall where the light was, and it was warm, and she thought, "This is a sign," and she did not know why she thought this, but she trusted it, and she got ready for work. But something in her moved differently, and she caught herself humming in the car, and she had not hummed in years. At work that morning, her boss called her into his office at 9:23, and Margaret felt her stomach tighten because she thought she was in trouble. But instead he said, "Margaret, we are restructuring and we are offering early retirement packages, and yours would be substantial," and he named a number, and the number was $73,000. And Margaret felt the room tilt, and she said yes without thinking, and she signed papers that afternoon, and when she walked out of the building at 4:32, she did not feel sad, but she felt free. Over the next 48 hours, everything accelerated, and an old friend from high school called her out of nowhere and said, "I am starting a consulting business, and I need someone with your experience, and I can pay you 3 times what you were making." And Margaret said yes again. And then her sister called and said, "I want to sell you my cabin in Vermont for half of what it is worth, because I know you always loved it." And Margaret said yes a 3rd time. And on the morning of the 3rd day, she woke at 5:51 without an alarm, and she lay in bed watching the golden light on her wall, and she whispered, "Thank you." And she knew that something had been unlocked inside her, not by effort, but by surrender. Now, if this story resonates with you, and if you feel that you were guided here tonight to this teaching, then touch the subscribe button now. And it is not for me, but it is so that you receive each new teaching from Florence Scovel Shinn at the exact moment your soul needs it. And the algorithm is not random, but it is a delivery system for what you are ready to receive. And in the comments, write only these 3 words: I mine my gold. And this is not an affirmation, but a decree. And when you write these words, you activate collective witness, and thousands of souls write these same words, and the field strengthens for everyone, and your words join the words of all who came before you and all who will come after you, and the gold mine deepens. If you want to support this spiritual work, there is a donation link in the description. And when you donate, you can leave a personal message about what you are going through, and you will receive a personal response with guidance. And this is not required, but it is an offering, and all offerings return multiplied. And what you give to the work gives back to you. If you choose not to do these things right now, that is perfectly fine, and your path is your own. But know that this is the moment of greatest power, and the moment you hear a teaching is the moment your subconscious is most receptive. So do it now if you feel aligned, and if not, then trust your timing. Now you can relax completely, and you do not need to do anything, and you can close your eyes or keep them open. But either way, everything I will share enters you while you rest, and your subconscious is awake even when your conscious mind sleeps, and it absorbs every word, and it begins the mining. And you do not need to understand how this works, but only to allow it. And if you fall asleep in the middle of this teaching, that is perfect, because sleep is when the deepest reprogramming happens. And when you wake tomorrow morning, the gold will already be rising to the surface, and you will see it in small ways at first, and then in larger ways, and then in ways that will make you weep with gratitude. Breathe deeply with me now, and feel your body against whatever surface holds you. And notice the temperature of the air on your skin, and notice the weight of your limbs, and notice that you are safe, and you are held. And for the next 8 hours while you sleep, your subconscious will do what it was designed to do, and it will mine, and it will extract, and it will bring to the surface everything you have been seeking. And you do not need to help, but only to rest. And so rest now and continue with me, because the teaching deepens. Florence Scovel Shinn was born in 1871 in Camden, New Jersey, and she grew up in a world that did not believe women could be spiritual teachers. But she became one anyway, and she moved to New York City in her early 20s, and she worked as an illustrator for children's books, and she married an artist, and her life looked ordinary from the outside, but inside, she was undergoing a transformation that would change thousands of lives. And she began to see that thoughts were not just mental events, but they were creative forces. And she began to teach this in small gatherings in apartments in Greenwich Village, and people came because something in her voice carried authority. She taught that the subconscious mind operates like a gold mine, and this was not a metaphor to her, but a literal description. And she said most people spend their lives digging in the dirt outside when there is a mine shaft that goes straight down into infinite supply, and the mine is not somewhere else, but it is inside you, and the gold is not material wealth only, but it is also health and love and peace and creative power, and everything you could ever need is already deposited in your subconscious, and your only job is to learn how to access it. Florence discovered this principle through her own desperation, and there was a time in 1923 when her husband left her, and she had almost no money, and she had to support herself, and she was 52 years old, and the world told her it was too late, and she sat in her small apartment on a Tuesday afternoon in March, and she felt the walls closing in, and she prayed, but not the kind of prayer she had been taught, and instead she spoke out loud, and she said, "I know there is gold in me, and I give permission for it to be mined, and I do not know how, but I trust." And she fell asleep on her sofa at 3 in the afternoon, and when she woke 2 hours later, there was a knock on her door. At the door was a woman she had met only once at a gathering 6 months earlier, and the woman said, "I do not know why, but I felt I should bring you this." And she handed Florence an envelope, and inside was $300 in cash and a note that said, "Use this to print your book." And Florence had been writing a book, but she had no way to publish it. And she took the money, and she printed 1,000 copies of a small book called The Game of Life and How to Play. It and she sold every copy in 3 weeks, and orders came for more. And within 6 months, she was teaching to crowds of 200 people, and within 2 years, she was financially free, and she never struggled again. The principle Florence taught from this experience was that your subconscious mind is always listening and it is always ready to deliver. But most people give it confused instructions and they say, "I want money, but I am broke," and the subconscious hears broke, and it delivers more of that. And they say, "I want love, but I am alone," and the subconscious hears alone, and it delivers more of that. And Florence said, you must speak to your subconscious the way you would speak to a faithful servant who takes every word literally. And you must say, "I am supplied, and I am loved, and I am free." And the subconscious says yes, and it begins to rearrange reality to match your words. There was a man named Walter who came to Florence in 1927, and he was 58 years old, and he had been a banker, but he lost everything in a bad investment, and he was living in a boarding house in Brooklyn and eating 1 meal a day, and he came to Florence's teaching with his last dollar, and he sat in the back row, and he barely listened because he was so hungry. But then Florence said, "Your subconscious is a gold mine." And something in Walter woke up, and after the teaching he approached her, and he said, "I do not believe you." And Florence smiled, and she said, "You do not need to believe me, but try it for 48 hours. And see what happens." Walter went back to his boarding house, and that night before he fell asleep, he spoke out loud, and he felt ridiculous. But he said, "My subconscious is a gold mine, and I give permission for the gold to surface." And he fell asleep, and he dreamed of his father who had died 10 years earlier. And in the dream, his father said, "Check the box in the attic." And Walter woke at 4 a.m, and he could not stop thinking about this. And he remembered that when his father died, he had stored a few boxes in his sister's attic, and he had never gone through them. At 7:30 a.m, Walter called his sister, and she said, "Come over," and he took the train to her house in Queens, and he went up to the attic, and he found 3 boxes covered in dust, and in the second box, under old papers, he found a stock certificate his father had purchased in 1910. And the company was Standard Oil, and Walter took the certificate to a broker, and the broker said this is worth $41,000. And Walter stood in the broker's office, and he wept, and he went back to Florence the next week, and he said, "How did you know?" And Florence said, "I did not know, but your subconscious knew, and it was waiting for you to give it permission to reveal what was always yours." This is the principle of the subconscious gold mine, and it operates on a law that is older than human civilization, and the law is this: whatever is spoken with conviction into the subconscious mind must manifest in physical reality, because the subconscious does not argue or question, but it only says yes, and it begins immediately to mine the gold that matches your decree, and the mining happens during sleep, because sleep is when the conscious mind releases control and the subconscious is free to work. Florence taught that there are 3 chambers in the subconscious gold mine, and the first chamber is the chamber of supply. And this is where all material wealth is stored, and it is infinite and it never runs out. And when you speak the words, "I am supplied," the subconscious opens this chamber and begins to extract, and the gold appears as money or opportunities or gifts or inheritance or ideas that generate wealth. The second chamber is the chamber of relationships, and this is where all love and connection is stored. And when you speak the words, "I am loved," the subconscious opens this chamber and begins to bring people into your life who recognize you, and the gold appears as friendships, or romance, or reconciliation, or family healing. The third chamber is the chamber of purpose, and this is where your unique gifts and calling are stored. And when you speak the words, "I am a divine instrument," the subconscious opens this chamber and begins to reveal what you are here to do. And the gold appears as creative projects or service opportunities or sudden clarity about your path. Most people never access these chambers because they do not know the chambers exist, and they spend their lives digging on the surface and they find only dirt and rocks, and they conclude that there is no gold, and they die believing they were unlucky. But Florence said there is no such thing as luck, only consciousness, and your consciousness determines which chamber opens and when. While you rest now, your subconscious is already responding to what you heard, and you do not need to do anything, because the mining happens automatically when you give permission, and the permission was given the moment you chose to. Listen to this teaching, and every word I speak is a drill that goes deeper into your inner mind, and every story I tell is a map that shows you where the gold is buried, and you can sleep now and trust that the work is being done. And when you wake, you will notice the first signs of gold rising to the surface. And the signs will be small at first, but they will grow. And what you are about to receive in the next 8 hours is a complete reprogramming of your subconscious instruction manual. And the old programs that said, there is not enough, and I am not worthy, and it is too late will be erased, and new programs will be written. And the new programs say, I am a gold mine, and I am open, and the time is now. Continue breathing and continue resting and continue allowing. Because what comes next are the specific techniques Florence taught for activating the 8-hour reprogramming cycle. And you do not need to memorize anything, but only to absorb. And your subconscious is recording everything. And it will play it back when you need it. The 8 hours you spend sleeping are not shushi, but they are the most active hours of your life in the invisible realm, and Florence Scovel Shinn said the sleeping hours are the working hours of the soul, and while your body rests, your subconscious is fully awake, and it is doing what it cannot do during the day when your conscious mind interferes, and it is reprogramming every cell, every belief, every pattern, every block, and it is mining the gold that has been buried. Under years of conditioning and fear and doubt, the average person sleeps 8 hours a night, and if you live to be 80 years old, you will have slept for approximately 262,800 hours, and this is 1/3 of your entire life. And most people waste these hours because they think sleep is passive. But Florence taught that sleep is the most active state of transformation available to humans. And the reason most people do not experience miracles is not because miracles are rare, but because they do not know how to use their sleep. There was a woman named Dorothy, and she was 54 years old, and she lived in a small town in upstate New York, and she worked as a librarian, and she had been trying to manifest a new house for 11 years, and she had vision boards and affirmations, and she had attended workshops and read 73 books on manifestation, and nothing had worked, and she was exhausted, and she was ready to give up. And then she heard a teaching about the 8 hours, and something shifted in her. Dorothy learned that the problem was not her desire or her worthiness, but her timing. And she had been doing all her manifestation work during the day when her conscious mind was active, and her conscious mind was full of doubt and logic and past evidence. And every time she affirmed, I am moving to a new house, her conscious mind would say, no, you are not. Look at your bank account. And the two minds would fight, and nothing would manifest. And Florence taught that the way around this battle is to bypass the conscious mind entirely and speak directly to the subconscious. And the only time the subconscious is fully receptive without interference is during the first 20 minutes before sleep and the last 20 minutes before waking. Dorothy began a new practice, and every night at exactly 10:30, she would lie in bed, and she would close her eyes, and she would speak out loud in the darkness, and she would say, my subconscious is mining my new house right now, and I sleep while it works. And she would repeat this 7 times slowly, and she would feel each word as she spoke it, and then she would surrender and fall asleep. And she did not try to visualize or force anything, but she simply gave the instruction and trusted. The first night, Dorothy slept deeper than she had slept in months, and she woke feeling different, and she could not explain it. But there was a lightness in her chest, and on the 3rd night, she had a dream. And in the dream, she was walking through a house she had never seen, and the house had wide windows and wooden floors and a fireplace, and she could smell coffee brewing, and she could feel sunlight on her face. And when she woke, she wrote down every detail. On the 7th night, Dorothy's phone rang at 11:47, and it was her cousin who lived in Vermont. And the cousin said, I know this is random, but I just inherited my aunt's house, and I do not want it. and I remembered you always loved Vermont. And I want to sell it to you for exactly what you have in your savings." And Dorothy said, "How much do you think I have?" And her cousin named a number, and it was exactly $8,312. And Dorothy checked her savings account, and the balance was $8,312. Dorothy drove to Vermont the next weekend, and when she walked into the house, it was the house from her dream, and it had the wide windows and the wooden floors and the fireplace, and she stood in the living room, and she wept, and she moved in 30 days later, and she had not done anything during the day, but she had given her subconscious clear instructions at night, and her subconscious had mined the gold and delivered it in a way her conscious mind never could have orchestrated. The 8-hour reprogramming cycle works in stages, and Florence described these stages based on the natural rhythm of sleep. And the first stage is the descent, and this happens in the first 2 hours after you fall asleep. And during the descent, your brain waves slow from beta to alpha to theta. And in theta, your subconscious becomes highly receptive. And this is when the instructions you gave before sleep begin to take root. And your subconscious starts scanning your inner gold mine for the resources that match your decree. The second stage is the deep mine. And this happens during hours 3 through 5. And this is when you enter delta sleep. And delta is the deepest level of consciousness. And in delta, your ego completely dissolves, and there is no resistance and no doubt and no fear. And your subconscious has full access to the universal field, and it begins to draw golden threads from the field into your personal reality. And these threads are the beginning of manifestation. And they are invisible, but they are real, and they are connecting you to people and opportunities and resources that you will meet in the physical world in the coming days. The third stage is the extraction, and this happens during hours 6 through 8, and this is when you begin to cycle back toward waking, and you move through REM sleep, and in REM, your subconscious is processing and integrating everything it mined during the night, and it is creating neural pathways that will change your behavior and perception when you wake. And this is why you sometimes wake with sudden clarity or new ideas or a feeling of certainty that was not there the night before. Dorothy experienced all 3 stages, and she did not know the technical terms, but she felt them, and on some mornings she would wake and remember dreams that felt more real than her waking life. And on other mornings she would wake with a knowing, and she would think, "I need to call this person," or "I need to go to this place." And she would follow the knowing, and every time she followed it, something would align, and she learned to trust her sleep the way most people trust their waking efforts. Florence taught that most people fail at manifestation because they try to do everything while awake, and they exhaust themselves, and they burn out, and they conclude that manifestation does not work. But the truth is that manifestation is 90% subconscious and only 10% conscious. And your job during the day is simply to stay open and follow the signs. And your job at night is to give clear instructions and then get out of the way. The instructions you give must be simple, and they must be spoken as if they are already true, and you must speak them with your voice, not just think them, because the vibration of your voice activates the subconscious in a way that thought alone cannot. And Florence said, "Speak as if you are giving orders to a servant who never questions but only obeys, and the servant is your subconscious, and it is waiting for your command. While you rest now, your subconscious is moving through these stages, and you are currently in the descent or the deep mine. And by the time you wake, your subconscious will have completed a full cycle of reprogramming, and you will not remember most of what I am saying consciously, but your subconscious is recording every word, and it is using these words as a blueprint. And tomorrow when you wake, you will notice that something has shifted, and you will not be able to name it, but you will feel it, and you will act differently, and you will attract differently. Do not try to force anything or figure anything out, but only continue breathing and continue resting, and trust that the 8 hours are working, even if you cannot see the work. And even if you fall asleep right now and miss the rest of this teaching, your subconscious will continue mining, and you will wake with gold in your hands. Your subconscious mind does not speak English or any human language, and it does not understand logic or reason. And it only understands three things. And the three things are image and emotion and repetition. And this is why affirmations often fail, because people speak words without feeling, and their subconscious ignores them because words without emotion are like seeds without water, and they do not grow. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this, and she taught that you must speak to your subconscious the way you would speak to a child, and not a child who needs to be convinced, but a child who believes everything you say. And when you say to a child you are so brave, the child does not question it, but absorbs it and becomes braver. And your subconscious works the same way. And when you say, I am supplied, your subconscious does not ask for proof, but it begins immediately to create supply. There was a man named Harold, and he was 61 years old, and he had been a truck driver for 39 years. And he lived in a small apartment in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he had $1,700 in savings, and he was 3 years from retirement, and he was terrified because he knew $1,700 would not be enough, and he had heard about manifestation, but every time he tried to affirm abundance, he felt like a liar because his bank account said otherwise. Harold came across Florence's teaching on a Sunday afternoon in January, and he was sitting in his apartment eating canned soup, and he played a recording on his phone, and Florence's voice said, Your subconscious does not care what is in your bank account, but it only cares what is in your instruction. And if you instruct poverty, it delivers poverty, and if you instruct wealth, it delivers wealth. And Harold felt something crack open in his chest, and he thought, what if I have been giving the wrong instruction my entire life? That night, Harold tried something new, and instead of saying, I want money, which felt desperate, he said, I speak to my gold mine, and I say, bring up the gold. And he felt foolish saying this out loud in his empty apartment, but he said it anyway, and he said it 7 times slowly. And he noticed that by the 7th time, his voice had changed, and there was a certainty in it that was not there before. And he fell asleep. Harold dreamed that night, and in the dream, he was driving his truck on a highway, and he saw a billboard, and the billboard had a phone number, and the number was glowing. And when he woke at 5 in the morning, he remembered the number, and he wrote it down, and it was 7 digits, and he thought, this is crazy. But he called the number, and a woman answered, and she said, this is the regional office for Schneider Trucking. And Harold said, I think I have the wrong number. And the woman said, wait, are you a driver? And Harold said, yes. And the woman said, we are desperately looking for regional drivers, and we pay twice the industry rate, and we need someone who can start immediately. Harold started the new job 2 weeks later, and his pay went from $33,000 a year to $71,000 a year, and he worked that job for 3 more years, and by the time he retired, he had $119,000 saved, and he bought a small house in Arkansas, and he lived there in peace. And he never forgot the night he spoke to his subconscious, and his subconscious answered. The reason Harold's instruction worked was because he used the 3 languages of the subconscious, and the first language is image. And when Harold said gold mine, his subconscious created an image of a mine and gold, and this image bypassed his conscious doubt and went straight into the programming layer. And the second language is emotion, and when Harold spoke with certainty, his subconscious felt the certainty, and it said, this is real. And the third language is repetition, and when Harold repeated the instruction 7 times, his subconscious understood this is important, and it prioritized the mining. Florence taught that you must repeat your instruction at least 7 times before sleep, because 7 is the number of completion, and anything less than 7 does not penetrate deeply enough, and the subconscious needs repetition to override old programming. And most people give up after 1 or 2 repetitions, because they feel foolish or they do not see immediate results. But the subconscious is like soil, and seeds do not sprout the moment they are planted, but they need time and darkness and water, and your sleep is the darkness, and your repetition is the water. There was a woman named Beverly, and she was 59 years old, and she had been single for 16 years after a difficult divorce, and she had given up on love, and she had convinced herself that she was too old and too damaged, and she lived alone in a cottage in Maine, And she spent her evenings reading, and she had stopped hoping for anything different. And then one of her friends sent her a link to Florence's teaching, and Beverly listened, and she heard the part about speaking to your subconscious before sleep. And she thought, what do I have to lose? Beverly began speaking to her subconscious every night, and she did not ask for a relationship because that felt too big, but instead she said, I speak to my gold mine, and I say, bring up the love that is already mine. And she repeated this 7 times, and at first it felt mechanical, but after 4 nights, something shifted, and the words began to feel true, and she would fall asleep with a warmth in her chest that she had not felt in years. On the 9th night, Beverly had a dream, and in the dream she was sitting in a cafe, and a man with kind eyes sat across from her, and they talked for hours. And when she woke, she could not remember what they talked about, but she remembered the feeling, and the feeling was safety. And 2 days later, Beverly went to a cafe she had never been to before, and she did not know why, but she felt pulled there, and she sat down with her book, and a man asked if the chair across from her was taken, and she looked up, and he had kind eyes. They talked for 3 hours, and his name was Richard, and he was 63, and he had also been alone for many years, and they began meeting at the same cafe every week, and 6 months later, he asked her to marry him, and she said yes, and they got married in a small ceremony on the coast of Maine. And Beverly stood at the altar, and she thought about the 9 nights she had spoken to her gold mine, and she knew that her subconscious had been mining this man long before she met him. The language of image means that you must see in your mind's eye what you are instructing, and if you want health, you must see yourself healthy, and if you want wealth, you must see yourself supplied, and the image does not need to be detailed, but it needs to be felt. And Beverly did not visualize Richard's face, but she visualized the feeling of safety, and her subconscious brought her the face that matched the feeling. The language of emotion means that you must feel the instruction as you speak it. And if you speak words without feeling, your subconscious knows you do not mean it, and it ignores the instruction. And this is why people who affirm from a place of desperation rarely manifest, because desperation is the wrong emotion. And the right emotion is certainty, or peace, or gratitude. And when you speak with these emotions, your subconscious says, yes, this is the truth, and it begins to mine. The language of repetition means that you must be consistent, and you cannot speak to your subconscious once and expect it to override 40 or 50 or 60 years of old programming, and you must speak every night for at least 21 nights, because 21 is the minimum time it takes to create a new neural pathway, and some instructions take longer and some take less, but consistency is more important than intensity. While you rest now, your subconscious is learning these 3 languages, and it is recalibrating, and tomorrow night, when you speak to it before sleep, it will respond faster because it has been primed by this teaching. And every night you speak, the mining becomes easier, and the gold comes up faster, and after 21 nights, the new programming will be automatic, and you will not need to think about it. Because your subconscious will have accepted the new instruction as truth. Do not force understanding, but only allow absorption. And if you are asleep right now, that is perfect, because your subconscious absorbs more deeply when your conscious mind is not interfering. And when you wake, you will remember what you need to remember, and the rest will be working in the background, and your life will begin to shift in ways that will surprise you. Every human being carries subconscious blocks, and these blocks are like boulders that sit at the entrance of the gold mine, and they prevent access to the gold, and the blocks were not put there by you, but they were installed during childhood and adolescence and early adulthood by parents and teachers and religion and culture and trauma and disappointment, and every time someone told you, you cannot or you should not, or who do you think you are, a boulder was placed, and over decades the entrance to your mind became completely blocked. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that you do not need to remove these blocks through years of therapy or analysis, but you only need to dissolve them. And the way you dissolve them is not through effort, but through surrender. And she said, resistance dissolves in the presence of acceptance. And when you stop fighting the blocks and instead observe them, they begin to crumble on their own. There was a man named Robert, and he was 56 years old, and he had been trying to start his own business for 22 years, and every time he got close, something would sabotage him, and he would lose money, or lose confidence, or lose interest, and he had started and abandoned 9 different businesses, and he was working a job he hated, and he could not understand why he kept failing. And then he learned about subconscious blocks, and he realized he was carrying a boulder he did not even know was there. Robert grew up in Detroit, and his father was a factory worker. And his father used to say, "People like us do not own businesses. We work for people who own businesses." And Robert heard this hundreds of times between the ages of 7 and 18, and the words planted a boulder. And the boulder said, "You are not the owner type." And every time Robert tried to become an owner, his subconscious would activate the boulder and sabotage him, because the subconscious is loyal to old programming, even when the programming hurts. Robert learned from Florence's teaching that he did not need to dig up the boulder, but he only needed to speak to it. And he began a practice at night before sleep. And he would lie in bed and he would say, "I see the block that says, I am not the owner type, and I do not fight it, but I thank it for protecting me. And now I release it, and I give my subconscious permission to mine the gold of entrepreneurship." And he would repeat this, and at first nothing happened. But on the 5th night he cried, and he did not know why, but he cried for 20 minutes, and the crying felt like a release. After 2 weeks, Robert woke up one morning with an idea, and the idea was so clear it felt like a download, and he started working on it immediately. And within 6 months, he had built a consulting business, and within a year, he was making more than he had ever made at any job. And he knew that the shift had nothing to do with the business idea, but everything to do with the dissolved block. The 7 most common subconscious blocks are these. And as I name them, notice if any feel familiar, and if they do, that is your subconscious signaling that this block is active in you, and the noticing alone begins the dissolving. The first block is the block of unworthiness. And this block says, "I do not deserve good things." And it was usually installed by parents or caregivers who withheld love or who gave love conditionally. And the block sits at the entrance of the supply chamber, and it prevents money and opportunities from entering. And people with this block often manifest just enough to survive, but never enough to thrive. And they work twice as hard for half the reward. The second block is the block of scarcity. And this block says there is not enough, and it was usually installed during times of poverty or financial instability in childhood. And the block sits at the entrance of the abundance chamber, and it creates a constant state of anxiety around money, and people with this block hoard and save and never feel secure no matter how much they have. The third block is the block of invisibility, and this block says, "I am not seen," and it was usually installed by being overlooked or ignored in childhood. And the block sits at the entrance of the recognition chamber, and it prevents people from being acknowledged or celebrated. And people with this block often do brilliant work that no one notices. The fourth block is the block of isolation, and this block says, "I am alone," and it was usually installed by abandonment or betrayal. And the block sits at the entrance of the relationship chamber, and it prevents deep connection. And people with this block attract surface friendships, but never intimacy. The fifth block is the block of inadequacy, and this block says, "I am not enough," and it was usually installed by constant criticism or comparison. And the block sits at the entrance of the confidence chamber, and it creates chronic self-doubt. And people with this block never feel qualified, no matter how many credentials they earn. The sixth block is the block of danger, and this block says, "The world is not safe," and it was usually installed by trauma or violence. And the block sits at the entrance of the trust chamber, and it keeps people in hypervigilance, and people with this block cannot relax, and they are always waiting for something bad to happen. The seventh block is the block of unwelcome, and this block says, "I do not belong," and it was usually installed by rejection or exclusion. And the block sits at the entrance of the community chamber, and it prevents people from finding their tribe, and people with this block feel like outsiders everywhere they go. Now here is what Florence taught, And this is the most important part, and you do not remove blocks by fighting them, but you dissolve them by flooding them with opposite energy. And the way you flood them is through sleep instruction. And before you sleep tonight, you will speak to your subconscious, and you will say, I see all blocks, and I thank them for trying to protect me, and now I release them, and I give permission for my gold mine to open fully, and you will. Repeat this 7 times. There was a woman named Patricia, and she was 64 years old, and she carried all 7 blocks, and her life had been a series of near misses and disappointments, and she was exhausted, and she was ready to give up, and she found Florence's teaching in her last moment of hope, and she began the practice of speaking to her blocks before sleep, and she did not believe it would work, but she was too tired to resist anymore. Patricia spoke to her blocks every night for 41 nights, and she tracked what happened, and the first week nothing changed, but she felt slightly less anxious, and the second week she started having dreams where she was digging in the ground, and the third week a friend called her out of nowhere and offered her a job she had never applied for, and the fourth week she met a woman at the grocery store who became her closest friend, and by the 6th week, Patricia's entire life looked different, and she had not done anything except speak to her subconscious before sleep. The blocks dissolved, not because Patricia analyzed them, but because she stopped feeding them with attention, and instead, she fed her gold mine with permission, and the gold mine grew stronger than the blocks, and eventually the blocks became irrelevant. And this is the secret that most people never learn, and they spend years in therapy talking about their blocks and analyzing their childhood, and the blocks stay because attention feeds them. Florence said the fastest way to dissolve a block is to ignore it and focus on the gold, and your subconscious will naturally prioritize what you focus on. And if you focus on blocks, you mine more blocks, and if you focus on gold, you mine more gold. And it is that simple. While you sleep tonight, your blocks are already beginning to dissolve, and you do not need to do anything because the instruction has been given and your subconscious is already at work, and by morning you will feel lighter, and you will not know why, but you will notice that certain fears or doubts that were heavy yesterday are less heavy today, and this is the beginning of the clearing. Continue resting and continue allowing, and do not analyze or question, but simply trust that what needs to happen is happening, and the gold mine is opening. And what comes next is how to recognize the first signs of gold emerging from the depths. When gold begins to rise from your subconscious mind, it does not appear as a sudden fortune, but it appears as signs, and the signs are small at first, and most people miss them because they are looking for big miracles, and they overlook the quiet adjustments that signal the mine is active. And Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the gold always announces itself before it arrives, and if you learn to read the signs, you will know the gold is coming, and you will not doubt, and you will not give up. The first sign of emerging gold is a shift in your internal state, and this usually happens within 48 hours of beginning the sleep practice, and the shift is subtle. And you might wake one morning and notice that the anxiety you have carried for years feels less heavy, or you might notice that you feel hopeful for no reason. And this is not a coincidence, but it is your subconscious signaling that it has begun mining, and the internal shift always precedes the external manifestation. There was a woman named Helen, and she was 53 years old, and she had been depressed for 11 years after losing her son in a car accident. And she had tried medication and therapy and support groups, and nothing had touched the darkness. And she moved through her days like a ghost, and she could not imagine ever feeling light again. And then someone sent her Florence's teaching, and she listened, and she started speaking to her subconscious before sleep. And she said, I give permission for light to return. On the 3rd morning after starting the practice, Helen woke at 6:15, and she lay in bed, and she noticed that for the first time in 11 years, she did not feel the crushing weight on her chest, and the weight had been there every morning, and it had been so constant she had stopped noticing it. But now it was gone, and she lay very still, because she was afraid if she moved, it would come back. But it did not come back, and she started to cry. But the crying was not sad, but it was relief. Helen did not understand what had happened, but she knew something had shifted, and over the next 7 days the lightness grew, and she started taking walks in the morning, and she had not walked in years. And on the 9th day, she was walking past a community center, and she saw a sign that said, "Grief Support Group, starting tonight." And she had been to support groups before, and they had not helped. But something pulled her inside, and she went to the meeting, and she met a woman whose daughter had died, and they connected immediately, and they became close friends, and Helen began to feel human again. The internal shift Helen experienced was the first sign of gold, and it was her subconscious announcing, "I am mining, and the mine is open, and what you asked for is on its way." And many people experience this first sign, but they dismiss it, and they think it is a temporary mood or a fluke, and they do not trust it. And then the external signs do not come, because they did not honor the internal sign. The second sign of emerging gold is intuitive knowing, and this usually appears as sudden clarity or a strong pull toward a person, or place, or action, and you might be doing something ordinary, like grocery shopping, and you suddenly think, "I need to call this person," or "I need to go to this place," and there is no logical reason. But the knowing is strong, and this is your subconscious communicating through intuition, and it is guiding you toward the people and opportunities where the gold is buried. There was a man named Kenneth, and he was 60 years old, and he had been trying to sell his house for 2 years. And the house was in Sacramento, and the market was good, but no offers came. And he was running out of money, and he was desperate, and he found Florence's teaching, and he started speaking to his subconscious, and he said, "I give permission for the perfect buyer to find me." On the 5th night, Kenneth had a dream, and in the dream, he was standing in his backyard, and a woman with red hair walked up to him and said, "I want to buy your house." And when Kenneth woke, he remembered the dream clearly, and he felt a knowing, and the knowing said, "The woman is real, and she is coming." And 2 days later, Kenneth was at the grocery store, and he was in the produce section. And he looked up, and a woman with red hair was standing 3 feet away, looking at tomatoes. Kenneth felt his heart race, and he knew this was the woman from the dream, and he did not know what to do. But the knowing said, "Talk to her." And he walked over, and he said, "Excuse me, this is going to sound strange, but I dreamed about you." And the woman laughed and said, "I have been dreaming about a house." And Kenneth said, "I am selling a house." And they exchanged numbers, and she came to see the house that weekend, and she made an offer on Monday, and Kenneth sold the house for full asking price. The intuitive knowing Kenneth felt was the second sign of gold, and his subconscious had already connected him to the buyer in the invisible realm, and the dream was a preview, and the grocery store was the delivery. And if Kenneth had ignored the knowing and not spoken to the woman, the gold would not have surfaced, and this is why trusting the signs is critical. The third sign of emerging gold is synchronicity, and this appears as meaningful coincidences, and you might think about someone and they call you 5 minutes later, or you might need a specific resource and it shows up unexpectedly, or you might overhear a conversation that contains the exact information you needed. And these are not accidents, but they are your subconscious rearranging reality to deliver the gold. Florence taught that synchronicity is the language of the subconscious. And when synchronicities begin to multiply, it means the mine is highly active and the gold is close to the surface. And most people experience 1 or 2 synchronicities, and they say, "That is interesting," and then they go back to their normal life. But Florence said, when synchronicity appears, you must pay attention and follow the thread, because synchronicity is a breadcrumb trail that leads to the gold. There was a woman named Ruth, and she was 57 years old, and she had been looking for meaningful work for 5 years after being laid off from a corporate job, and she had sent 473 resumes, and she had gotten nowhere, and she was running out of savings, and she was afraid she would never work again. And she started Florence's sleep practice, and she said, "I give permission for my perfect work to find me." On the 7th day, Ruth was at a coffee shop, and the woman sitting next to her was on a phone call, and Ruth overheard her say, "We are desperate to find someone with Ruth's exact skill set." And Ruth's ears perked up, and when the woman hung up, Ruth leaned over and said, "Excuse me, I could not help but overhear, and I think I might be the person you are looking for." And the woman looked at Ruth and said, "Tell me about yourself." Ruth explained her background, and the woman's eyes widened and she said, "You are exactly who we need," and she hired Ruth on the spot, and Ruth started the job 2 weeks later, and the salary was more than she had made in her corporate job. And Ruth knew that the coffee shop's synchronicity was not random, but it was her subconscious delivering gold. The progression of signs is always the same, and first comes the internal shift, and then comes the intuitive knowing, and then comes the synchronicity, and then comes the manifestation. And most people want to skip straight to manifestation, but the subconscious does not work that way, and it builds progressively. And each sign is a confirmation that the next sign is coming. While you sleep tonight, your subconscious is preparing your signs, and when you wake tomorrow, pay attention to how you feel and notice if there is any lightness or hope or peace. And if there is, then the first sign has appeared. And over the next 7 days, pay attention to any intuitive pulls or knowings and follow them, even if they do not make sense, and watch for synchronicities. And when they appear, do not dismiss them, but follow the thread and trust that each sign is leading you closer to the gold. You do not need to force anything or make anything happen, but you only need to notice and follow. And your subconscious is doing the heavy lifting, and your job is to stay open and receptive. And the gold will surface in its own timing, and the timing is always perfect, even when it feels slow. Continue breathing and continue resting, and know that signs are already being prepared for you. And what comes next is about timing, and why some gold surfaces quickly and some gold takes longer to mine, and how to live peacefully during the waiting time in the physical realm is linear, but time in the subconscious realm is not. And Florence Scovel Shinn taught that in the subconscious, everything exists in the eternal now. And what you instruct tonight is already complete in the invisible, and the only delay is the time it takes for the invisible to become visible. And this delay is not arbitrary, but it serves a purpose, and the purpose is preparation and maturation. There are 2 types of gold that your subconscious mines, and the first type is surface gold, and this gold is close to the top, and it manifests quickly, usually within 72 hours. And surface gold includes things like small amounts of money, or helpful information, or minor synchronicities, and this gold appears to build your faith and show you that the mine is real. The second type is deep gold, and this gold is buried far underground, and it takes longer to extract, usually 21 to 90 days, and deep gold includes things like major career changes, or significant relationships, or complete life transformations, and this gold requires more mining time because it is connected to multiple other elements, and all the elements must align before the gold can surface. There was a man named Arthur, and he was 59 years old, and he had been working in insurance sales for 34 years, and he hated his job, but he did not know what else to do, and he was too afraid to quit. Because he had a mortgage and bills, and he felt trapped, and he found Florence's teaching, and he started the sleep practice, and he said, "I give permission for my true work to find me." Arthur expected something to happen immediately, but nothing did. And the first week passed and nothing changed, and the second week passed and he started to doubt, and the third week passed and he almost gave up. But then on the 21st day, his boss called him into the office and said, "We are restructuring and we are offering severance packages, and yours would be $49,000, and Arthur felt his stomach drop. But he said yes. The severance gave Arthur breathing room, and he did not rush into another job, but instead, he spent 3 months asking himself, what do I actually want to do? And the answer came slowly, and the answer was, he wanted to teach. And he had always loved teaching, but he had never pursued it, because it did not pay enough. But now with the severance, he had time to explore, and he enrolled in a certification program to become a high school history teacher. Arthur finished the certification in 6 months, and he applied to 7 schools, and he got offers from 3, and he chose a small private school in his town. And he started teaching at age 60, and for the first time in his life, he loved going to work, and he taught for 9 years, and he retired at 69. And he said, those 9 years were the best years of my life, and the gold that surfaced was not quick, but it was a deep and it was worth the wait. The reason deep gold takes longer is because your subconscious is not just mining one thing, but it is mining multiple things, and it is orchestrating a complex series of events. And Arthur's gold required his company to restructure and his boss to offer severance, and Arthur to have time to reflect, and Arthur to find the certification program and the schools to have openings, and all of this had to happen in sequence, and rushing any part of it would have ruined the outcome. Florence taught that impatience is the enemy of deep gold, and when people do not see immediate results, they panic, and they start doubting, and they stop speaking to their subconscious, and they abandon the practice right before the gold was about to surface. And she said the greatest test of faith is the waiting period, and those who pass the test receive the gold, and those who fail the test miss it. There was a woman named Lillian, and she was 62 years old, and she had been single for 19 years, and she had stopped believing she would ever find love again, and she started the sleep practice, and she said, I give permission for my perfect partner to find me, and she expected to meet someone within a week. But a week passed and nothing happened, and a month passed and still nothing, and Lillian started to think, maybe I am too old, and maybe it is too late. But Lillian kept speaking to her subconscious every night, even though she felt foolish, and even though she saw no evidence. And on the 47th day, Lillian was at a bookstore, and she reached for a book on the top shelf, and she could not reach it, and a man standing next to her said, let me help you. And he grabbed the book and handed it to her, and their hands touched, and Lillian felt electricity, and they started talking, and they talked for an hour, and his name was George, and he was 65, and he had also been alone for many years. Lillian and George started dating, and 6 months later, he proposed, and they got married. And Lillian stood at the altar, and she thought about the 47 days she had waited, and she realized that if she had met George on day 7, she would not have been ready. And she needed those 47 days to soften and to release old stories and to open her heart, and the timing was perfect even though it felt slow. The maturation period is not wasted time, but it is preparation time, and your subconscious is preparing you and the gold simultaneously. And if the gold came too soon, you would not be ready to receive it, or you would sabotage it, or you would not recognize it. And the waiting is part of the mining, and every day you wait is a day. Your subconscious is digging deeper and aligning more pieces. Florence said, trust the timing of your gold. And do not compare your timeline to anyone else's timeline, because your gold is unique to you. And some people manifest in 3 days, and some manifest in 3 months, and some manifest in 3 years. And all timelines are correct. And the only wrong timeline is the one where you give up. While you rest tonight, your gold is maturing, and you cannot see it, but it is happening. And tomorrow you might not see evidence. And next week, you might not see evidence, but that does not mean nothing is happening. And under the surface, your subconscious is moving mountains and connecting dots and preparing the perfect delivery. And your only job is to stay faithful and keep speaking to your subconscious and trust that what is yours is already on its way. Do not count the days, but count the signs. And every internal shift is a sign, and every intuitive knowing is a sign, and every synchronicity is a sign, and the signs are proof that the gold is coming. And even if you do not see the gold, yet you can see the signs, and the signs are enough to keep you faithful. Continue resting and continue trusting, and know that divine timing is operating, and your gold will surface at the exact moment you are ready to receive it, and not a moment before, and not a moment after. And what comes next is about the collective field, and how your mining helps everyone, and how everyone's mining helps you. You are not mining alone. And this is one of the most important teachings Florence Scovel Shinn ever gave. And she said there is one infinite gold mine, and we all access it. And when one person strikes gold, it makes it easier for everyone else to strike gold, because the field strengthens and the collective consciousness shifts, and what was impossible yesterday becomes possible today. The gold mine is not a personal resource, but a collective resource, and it is like a vast underground reservoir that exists beneath all of humanity, and every time someone accesses it, they create a channel, and the channel remains open, and others can follow the same channel. And this is why breakthroughs often happen in clusters, and multiple people discover the same thing at the same time, because they are all tapping into the same collective mind. There was a group of 5 people, and they did not know each other, but they were all listening to Florence's teachings at the same time. And the first person was a woman named Evelyn, and she was 55, and she lived in Portland, Oregon. And she started the sleep practice on a Monday night. And the second person was a man named Frank, and he was 63, and he lived in Atlanta, Georgia, and he started the same practice on the same Monday night. And the third person was a woman named Gladys, and she was 58, and she lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and she also started on Monday night. The fourth person was a man named Charles, and he was 61, and he lived in Boston, Massachusetts, and he started on Monday night. And the fifth person was a woman named Irene, and she was 54, and she lived in Seattle, Washington, and she also started on Monday night. And none of these 5 people knew each other, and they lived in different cities, and they had different circumstances, but they were all speaking to their subconscious with the same instruction, and they all said, "I give permission for my gold mine to open." What happened next was remarkable. And on Thursday morning, Evelyn in Portland received an unexpected check in the mail for $2,300 from an old insurance policy she had forgotten about. And that same Thursday morning, Frank in Atlanta got a phone call from a former client offering him a consulting job that paid $87,000. And that same Thursday, Gladys in Phoenix had a conversation with a stranger at a cafe who offered her a business partnership. That same Thursday, Charles in Boston found a lottery ticket in an old coat pocket, and he checked the numbers, and he had won $540. And that same Thursday, Irene in Seattle received an email from a publisher saying they wanted to buy her book manuscript for a $15,000 advance. And all 5 of these breakthroughs happened within 6 hours of each other. And all 5 people had started the same practice on the same night. This is not coincidence, but it is the collective field in action. And when the 5 of them spoke to their subconscious on Monday night, they all connected to the same infinite mind, and their collective intention created a surge of energy in the field, and the surge made it easier for each of them to access gold, and their individual success strengthened the field for everyone else. Florence taught that when you decree something, you are not decreeing alone, but you are joining thousands of invisible witnesses who are decreeing with you, and the witnesses include everyone who has ever practiced this teaching, and everyone who is practicing it now, and everyone who will practice it in the future. And the collective power of all these voices creates a tidal wave of manifestation, and the wave lifts everyone. There was a woman named Doris, and she was 60 years old, and she had been struggling financially for 8 years after her husband died. And she was living on Social Security, and it was not enough, and she was falling behind on bills, and she felt alone, and she felt forgotten, and she started Florence's sleep practice, and she said, "I give permission for my supply to come." Doris did not see results immediately, but on the 10th night she had a dream, and in the dream she was standing in a room with hundreds of people, and they were all holding candles, and they were all speaking the same words, and the words were, "I am supplied." And Doris woke from the dream, feeling held, and she realized she was not alone, and she was part of something larger. The next day, Doris received a letter from her bank, saying there had been an error in her late husband's pension calculation, and she was owed $17,000 in back payments. And the check arrived 3 days later, and Doris sat at her kitchen table, holding the check, and she thought about the dream. And she knew that the hundreds of people in the dream were real, and they were all mining together, and their collective faith had lifted her. When you speak to your subconscious before sleep, you are not speaking into a void, but you are speaking into a field, and the field is listening and the field is responding, and everyone who has ever spoken these words is connected to you, and their success is your success, and your success is their success. And this is the mystery of the collective mind. Florence said, "The greatest power on earth is not individual will, but collective faith." And when a group of people all believe the same thing, reality must bend to accommodate their belief. And this is how movements happen. And this is how cultures shift. And this is how miracles become normal, and you are part of this movement, whether you realize it or not. While you rest tonight, you are being held by the collective field, and thousands of people around the world are sleeping and speaking to their subconscious and mining their gold. And their mining makes your mining easier, and your mining makes their mining easier, and you are all connected in the invisible realm, and what you do affects everyone, and what everyone does affects you. This is not abstract, but it is real, and you can feel it if you pay attention. And sometimes you will wake in the middle of the night, and you will feel a presence, and the presence is the collective field, and it is supporting you, and you are never alone, and you are never unsupported, and even when you feel isolated, you are held. Continue breathing and continue resting, and know that you are part of something ancient and powerful. And what comes next is the final story, and the final story will seal everything, and it will show you what is possible when you trust the process and stay faithful through the waiting. Everything I have shared with you tonight is real, and it is not theory, but it is tested truth. And what I will tell you now is the story that brings it all together. And this is the story of a woman who had every reason to give up, but she did not. And she mined her gold through 8 nights of sleep, and she emerged transformed. And her story will show you what is possible for you. Her name was Virginia, and she was 51 years old, and she lived in a small apartment in Cleveland, Ohio. And her life had collapsed, and there is no other word for it, but collapsed. And 3 years earlier, her husband had left her for another woman. And the divorce had been brutal, and he had taken everything, and she was left with $3,700 and a car that barely ran, and she had no college degree, and she had not worked in 26 years because she had stayed home to raise their 2 children. Virginia tried to find work, but every job she applied for required experience she did not have, and she sent out resumes for 18 months, and she got nowhere, and her savings dwindled. And by the time she was 51, she had $412 left, and her rent was due in 9 days, and the rent was $850, and she did not have it, and she did not know where it would come from. And she sat on her sofa on a Tuesday night in November, and she thought, this is the end. Virginia had never been suicidal. But that night, she thought about it, and she thought, maybe it would be easier. And she sat in the dark, and she cried until she had no tears left, and then she picked up her phone. And she did not know why, but she searched the words, how to manifest money fast. And a video appeared, and the video was a teaching from Florence Scovel Shinn. And Virginia almost scrolled past it, because she had heard about manifestation, and she thought it was nonsense, but something stopped her, and she pressed play. The teaching was about the subconscious gold mine, and Virginia listened, and she heard Florence's voice say, your subconscious is a gold mine, and most people sit on riches and never dig. And Virginia felt something stir in her chest, and the feeling was not hope, but it was curiosity. And she listened to the whole teaching, and when it ended, she thought, what do I have to lose? And she decided to try. That night at 11:47, Virginia lay in her bed, and she spoke out loud, and she said, I speak to my subconscious, and I give permission for my gold mine to open. And I give permission for supply to come. And she repeated this 7 times, and her voice was shaky, and she felt ridiculous, but she said it anyway. And then she fell asleep, and she slept deeper than she had slept in months. The first morning, Virginia woke, and nothing had changed. And her bank account still showed $412, and her rent was still due in 8 days. But she felt different, and the crushing panic that had been with her for weeks was gone. And she felt calm, and she did not understand why, but she trusted it. And that night, she spoke to her subconscious again, and she said the same words, and she fell asleep. The second morning, Virginia woke, and she had a dream. And in the dream, she was walking through a forest, and she found a wooden door in the ground, and she opened the door, and below was a mine shaft, and golden light was coming up from the shaft. And she woke, and she wrote down the dream, and she did not know what it meant, but she felt it was important. The third morning, Virginia received a phone call at 8:32, and the caller ID said unknown, and she almost did not answer, but she did. And the voice on the other end said, is this Virginia? And Virginia said yes. And the voice said, this is the Ohio Department of Taxation. And we have been trying to reach you, and you are owed a tax refund from 3 years ago, and the amount is $9,200. Virginia stood in her kitchen, and she could not speak, and the voice said, "Are you there?" And Virginia said yes, and the voice said, "The check will arrive in 7 business days." And Virginia hung up, and she fell to her knees, and she sobbed, and she knew this was the gold, and it had come from a place she never would have looked, and her subconscious had mined it while she slept. But the story does not end there, and Virginia kept speaking to her subconscious every night for 8 nights total, and on the 4th night, she had another dream. And in the dream, a woman with gray hair said, "You are meant to help other women." And Virginia woke, and she thought about this, and she realized she wanted to help women going through divorce because she knew how alone they felt. On the 5th day, Virginia was at the grocery store, and she saw a flyer on the bulletin board. And the flyer said, "Local community center looking for volunteer coordinator." And Virginia called the number, and she met with the director. And the director said, "We do not have money to pay you, but if you build a program, we can apply for grants." And Virginia said yes, and she started volunteering. On the 6th night, Virginia dreamed about numbers, and the numbers were very specific. And when she woke, she wrote them down, and the numbers were 4, 7, 11, 23, 31. And Virginia did not play the lottery. But something told her to buy a ticket. And she did. And she checked the numbers on Saturday night, and she had matched 4 numbers, and she won $370. On the 7th day, Virginia's ex-husband called. And this was shocking because they had not spoken in 2 years. And he said, "I know this is strange, but I have been feeling guilty about the divorce, and I want to give you the money I owe you." And Virginia said, "You do not owe me anything legally." And he said, "I know, but morally, I do." And he sent her a check for $22,000. On the 8th night, Virginia had one final dream. And in the dream, Florence Scovel Shinn was sitting across from her. And Florence said, "You were never poor, but you only forgot how to access your wealth." And Virginia woke, and she knew the 8 nights were complete, and she had mined her gold, and the gold was not just money, but it was a new life. Within 6 months, Virginia had built a divorce support program at the community center, and within a year, the program had received a grant, and Virginia was hired as the director, and her salary was $53,000. And she was helping 27 women navigate divorce, and she had found her purpose, and she had found her gold. And she stood in front of the group one evening, and she told them about Florence Scovel Shinn. And she said, "Your subconscious is a gold mine, and you can mine it while you sleep." Virginia's story shows the full progression, and it shows the internal shift, and the dreams, and the synchronicities, and the manifestations. And it shows that the gold comes from unexpected places. And it shows that 8 nights is enough time for a complete transformation. And most importantly, it shows that you do not need to know how the gold will come, but you only need to give permission and trust. As I speak these words to you, now you are in your own 8-night cycle. And perhaps this is your 1st night or your 3rd night or your 7th night, but wherever you are in the cycle, know that your gold is being mined and you cannot see it, but it is happening. And by the time you complete 8 nights, you will be different. And your circumstances will be different, and you will look back and you will know that this teaching changed everything. Take a deep breath now and feel the weight of your body and feel the truth of what you have heard and prepare yourself. Because what comes next is the final seal, and the final seal will lock in everything, and it will activate your subconscious at the deepest level, and you will receive the decree that Virginia received and the decree that thousands before you have received. And when you receive it, you will know that it is finished. We have arrived at the final moment, and this is the moment where everything you have heard becomes permanent. And what I am about to give you is not information, but it is activation. And the activation happens whether you are awake or asleep, and your subconscious is listening, and it is ready. And you do not need to do anything but receive. Even if you are sleeping right now, something in you is awake, and that part of you never sleeps, and it is the part that exists beyond time and beyond the body, and it is the part that has direct access to the infinite gold mine. And that part is listening to every word I speak, and it is recording, and it is absorbing, and when you wake tomorrow, that part will have reorganized everything. Before we speak the decree, I want you to breathe with me. and I will guide you through 3 cycles of breath, and you do not need to force anything but only follow. And if you are already asleep, your body will breathe anyway, and the breath is the bridge between conscious and subconscious. First breath, and breathe in slowly through your nose, and count to 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And hold the breath for 4 counts, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and breathe out slowly through your mouth for 4 counts, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and feel your chest expand and contract, and feel the life force moving through you. Second breath, and breathe in through your nose, and count to 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and this time as you breathe in, imagine golden light entering your body, and the light is filling your lungs and spreading through your blood and reaching every cell, and hold for 4 counts, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and breathe out through your mouth for 4 counts, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And as you breathe, out release everything that is not yours. Third breath, and breathe in through your nose and count to 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And this time as you breathe in, say silently, I am ready to receive and hold for 4 counts, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And breathe out through your mouth for 4 counts, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And as you breathe out, say silently, I release all resistance. Now I will speak the palabra celo, and I will speak it 3 times. And each time I speak it, the words go deeper, and the first time is for your conscious mind, and the second time is for your subconscious mind, and the third time is for your soul. And you do not need to repeat the words, but only listen and let them enter you. First wave, and my voice is soft and gentle like a whisper. My subconscious is a gold mine. I mine my gold while I sleep, and it cannot be otherwise. Second wave, and my voice is clear and certain, like a statement of fact. My subconscious is a gold mine. I mine my gold while I sleep, and it cannot be otherwise. Third wave, and my voice is strong and unshakable, like a decree that cannot be undone. My subconscious is a gold mine. I mine my gold while I sleep, and it cannot be otherwise. The seal is placed, and now I will speak the decreto de identidade, and this decree establishes who you are, and when your identity changes, your reality must change to match. And I will speak this 3 times, and each time it goes deeper. First wave, and my voice is gentle. I am a natural miner of inner gold. I have always had access, and it cannot be otherwise. Second wave, and my voice is certain. I am a natural miner of inner gold. I have always had access, and it cannot be otherwise. Third wave, and my voice is absolute. I am a natural miner of inner gold. I have always had access, and it cannot be otherwise. The identity is sealed, and now I will speak the final selamento, and this is the lock that ensures nothing can reverse what has been done, and your subconscious is now permanently programmed to mine gold, and even if you forget everything you heard tonight, the programming remains, and it works while you sleep, and it works while you wake, and it never stops. And so it is sealed in the invisible realm, and so it remains in the visible realm, and it cannot be otherwise. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. The work is complete, and you do not need to do anything else, and you can continue resting, and you can fall deeper into sleep, and everything that needed to enter has already entered, and every word that needed to be spoken has been spoken, and your subconscious has received the full instruction, and it is already mining, and the gold is already rising. When you wake tomorrow morning, you will be different, and the difference will not be dramatic, but it will be real, and you will feel lighter, and you will feel more certain, and you will notice small shifts, and the shifts will grow over the next 8 nights. And by the time you complete the 8th night, your life will look different, and you will not be able to explain how it happened, but you will know that it happened. You do not need to believe, but you only need to allow. And belief will come after proof, and proof is already on its way. And in the coming days, watch for the signs. And the first sign will be internal, and it will be a shift in how you feel. And the second sign will be intuitive, and it will be a knowing that tells you where to go and what to do. And the third sign will be synchronicity, and people and opportunities will appear in unexpected ways. And the fourth sign will be manifestation, and the gold will surface in physical form. Do not force anything, and do not try to make anything happen, but only stay open and follow the signs, and trust that your subconscious knows what it is doing, and it is leading you to your gold, and the gold is already yours, and it was always yours, and you were never poor, but you only forgot how to access your wealth. Rest now and let the 8 hours do their work. And tomorrow night, you will speak to your subconscious again, and you will say the same words, and the mining will deepen, and each night the mine goes deeper, and the gold becomes richer, and by the 8th night, you will have accessed levels of wealth you did not know existed. And if you are sleeping now, then sleep deeply and peacefully, and know that you are held by the collective field, and thousands of people are mining with you, and their success is your success, and your success is their success, and we are all connected in the infinite gold mine. And if you are awake, then close your eyes and rest, and let go and surrender and trust, and know that everything you need is already inside you, waiting to be discovered. And the discovery happens while you sleep, and it happens without effort, and it happens because you gave permission. It is finished, it is done, it is sealed, and it cannot be otherwise. Rest now, the gold is yours, and so it is.